Now, listening to you over the past few months, one thing you have, and as a student of politics myself, you've talked about the worldview.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's success doesn't just happen.
No.
You know, it needs to be based on a worldview.
Yes.
And for those who are not politically minded, can you explain what a worldview is and relate it to Nigeria?
Yes. Oh, that's very good. A very good question. It's one of my favorite things. Now, you know, the whole concept of the worldview is that for any country to be successful, you have to have, that country has to have a philosophical foundation from which the country as a nation sees the world, sees themselves in the world. Then based on that, they have a sense of where they're coming from, where they're going, and how they're going to get there.
Hello.
And then they have a strategy to get there.
Hello.
That, simply put, is a worldview. A philosophical understanding of the world and a mental map about how to navigate the world. Now, every individual has a worldview.
Yes.
Now, but we're discussing this at the level of a country. Nigeria has never had it. In the United States,
including our founding fathers?
Well, to some extent, they had it because they had a worldview of decolonization.
At the time.
At the time.
Yes.
But that worldview was basically achieved. And after it was achieved, and for a few years they tried, but they didn't manage their success very well.
So a worldview must be dynamic as well.
It must be dynamic. It must constantly be subjected to interrogation based on the changing dynamics of the world today. I mean, you know, the world yesterday, 20 years ago, is not the world today. Today, the global dynamic is a dynamic of globalization. So how prepared are we? When we don't even have a worldview, we cannot understand globalization and our place in it. So, for example, in Nigeria, you don't have leaders who understand that, look, globalization is based on technology.
Indeed.
Now, if you understand this, it means that if you want to be somebody in the world, you must have some amount of technology that you yourself produce and export, or that you contribute to the manufacture of technological products.
China comes to mind.
China comes to mind. You know, Southeast Asia, you know, Malaysia, Singapore, all these kinds of countries. They found themselves in the global value chain of the products of globalization. Because our leaders don't have a worldview, they are satisfied with being a market of the products of globalization.
Consumerism.
So we are consumers. And every man and his uncle, every woman and her aunt, they have a cell phone. And they're happy. They think they're with it. You know, but they don't understand who's really making the money. It's the guy who's manufacturing the cell phone. Because I want to be a president of Nigeria and I have a worldview, when I become president of Nigeria, I'm going to be moving Nigeria to an innovation-based economy that is based on science and technology. And you will see the talent that is dormant in Nigeria.
Well, we already have a caller. The lines are hotting up. Hi, Mr. Sunday. How are you doing? Where are you calling from, sir? Hello? Oh, I think Mr. Sunday is starstruck. Okay, so we talked about the worldview. And like I said, China comes to mind.
Yes,
because
let me give you an example.
Yeah.
You see, China is a perfect example. 40 years ago, China was just a poor country. But today, China has taken 870 million people out of poverty into the middle class. They did that because they had a worldview of the rise of China. They had a sense of their history, they had a chip on their shoulder, and they decided that they're going to beat the Western world. A worldview is always competitive. You have to find a way to be globally dominant. China has succeeded just as the Western world succeeded, you know, centuries ago. So in America, they will tell you about manifest destiny. They will tell you this is God's own country. They will tell you that we are special. That's the American worldview. They see themselves as unique and God sent to lead the world. Now, mark you, a worldview does not actually have to be an empirically accurate thing.
Yes.
It's actually just a psychological thing.
Continuum that you can work within.
Exactly, and it drives performance. It drives your activity. So you have a strategy to make sure that you attain your vision in the context of that worldview. That's the kind of leader Nigeria has never had. That's the kind of leader I propose to be.
Indeed, okay. Hi, hello, what's your name and where you're calling from? Hello?
Yes.
What's your name and where you're calling from?
Good evening. My name is Priscilla, and I'm calling from London.
How are you doing, Priscilla? Welcome to the show.
Very well, thank you.
Yes, Prof is all yours.
Thank you. I have two questions. I'm going to be really quick. In your book, sir, hello again, Professor Moghalu.
Hi.
In your book, you speak about creating an enabling environment.
Yeah.
This creation of an enabling environment has been talked about. In fact, is the mantra right now for the current Minister of Trade and Investment. What is creating an enabling environment in your administration to the ordinary Nigerian?
Okay.
What will that be?
Yeah.
I would like you to break it down because we hear it all the time.
Yes.
What will it mean to,
the first
Delhi or to, Kinde or, on the street?
and then
My
Mecca
second
or
question is,
Adamu.
Okay.
you made mention of also in your book of creating a venture capital fund,
Yes.
a huge venture capital fund. And you say that you're going to use that to grow and develop the economy. Fantastic. But then what will happen to Bank of Industry? What will happen to the UWIN program? What about the sovereign wealth funds that Nigeria already has?
Yeah.
All of these funds are in place
Yeah.
to do just that.
Yeah.
Why would you need to create yet another huge fund
Yes.
when we already have something in place?
Very good. Very good.
Thank you, Priscilla.
I love those questions.
Thank you.
First of all, what does creating an enabling environment mean?
Yes.
Creating an enabling environment means two things. One, you create an enabling environment politically
Okay.
in which the average Dele, Emeka, or Adamu feels that he or she matters in Nigeria, regardless of whether they are poor or whether they are wealthy. That kind of environment does not exist in Nigeria today. We are all slaves, held in bondage by our recycled old politicians. And they've kept the citizens of Nigeria in bondage so that every 4 years they will go and buy their votes to come back to office. So that's not an enabling
Have you had
environment.
that challenge?
Of course, I've had that challenge. I mean, when I was going in one of the markets,
Yes.
60-70% of the people were very interested in what I was saying. But occasionally you would hear shouts of, give us money, give us money. And that was so sad to hear. It's like, where's the money you're giving us? You want to talk to us, but we want money.
That's a major challenge. Though.
This is a serious problem of poverty. So poverty has held Nigerians in slavery to the political class, and the politicians are exploiting it. So stepping out of that paradigm is the first enabling environment we must create. It is political, it is psychological. We must make Nigerians know that they matter. That's number one. Number two, creating the enabling environment, number two, is economic. And that's something that happens through the right kinds of economic policies. And that leads me to the answer to the second question. You talked about the venture capital fund. The problem with Nigeria's economy is that we're running a capitalist economy without any philosophical foundation and therefore no vision. The secret of running an economy that is capitalist lies in three things. You must have property rights, you must have innovation, and you must have capital. How many people in Nigeria, despite the existence of the Bank of Industry, can tell you that they can access capital to start a new business? The Bank of Industry is a government-owned bank. I have been a deputy governor of the central bank, and I know that they are constrained in what they can achieve. The best way to create and stimulate a productive economy is not always to be relying on the government. The venture capital fund I seek to establish will be a public-private partnership. It will be run like a business.
And you were talking about yesterday about $1 trillion.
Exactly, starting it with $1 trillion. So you now need to have innovation, you need to have capital, you need to have property rights. We have Land Use Act. All the land in Nigeria belongs to the state. Until you abolish the Land Use Act, you have not created an enabling environment for a successful capitalist economy. So when I talk about creating the enabling environment, it is addressing these philosophical foundations. That's what you do through public policy. If you don't do that, and no matter what you do, you're just engaging in movement without, your motion without movement, or really motion without substance. You're running around in circles and pretending like the minister who tells you about creating an enabling environment. Why is Nigeria now the poverty capital of the world if the industrial bank has been such a great success? or if all the things the government is talking about has been such a success. Meanwhile, we're becoming poorer and poorer. So we need to begin to address the real issues and stop listening to government propaganda. That's why I need to send President Muhammadu Buhari into retirement so that Nigeria can make progress. We need to have a leader who actually understands how to run an economy, not people who understand public propaganda and confusing our citizens. I mean, look at what they've just done with the Air Nigeria thing. They've suspended it after all the propaganda.
That was a major breaking news today.
What a joke.
Okay, we've talked about poverty, we've addressed the worldview. Yesterday you talked about a paradigm within a paradigm.
Yeah.
Because basically there has to be a total shift.
Exactly.
But then that's going to be tricky. I'll hold your thoughts. We're going to go on a quick break right now. When we come back, we're going to be taking calls in the next segment.
Sure.